Hi, I'm Russ Moyer, the founder and president of Eagle Worldwide Ministries and the International Coalition of Prophetic Leaders. I want to welcome you to this special edition of the Prophetic Edge. We're going to be sharing tonight about kingdom economics and trying to give you some information that will help you in the season that we're in right now. I really feel that these next 6 to 18 months are going to be a bit of a rocky road economically. But not just economically, but spiritually as well, and a lot of different circumstances and situations. You've heard me say over and over again that it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. Then it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. And then it's going to get better than you and I can ever imagine. I believe that's what's lying ahead. The best is yet to come. I really believe some wonderful things are going to happen, but we're also going to hit some road bumps and some rocky road in the interim. I really feel that in this time and season, we need to have powerful insight and divine insight. We need revelation and wisdom and understanding like we never had before to weather the storm in this moment. I've also told anyone that was willing to listen over the last couple of years that the biggest threat to our economic condition was not recession, but inflation, which actually brings on recession and depression as well. It depresses the system and affects all of us. I want to take this evening a brief look at a few things that got us here. Then I want to share with you the reality of the moment and also what we can do in the days ahead in a practical way to be positioned. It's important that we have some understanding of what's going on around us. And as we take a look at some things and just open up our hearts to listen, to hear, to be aware, to be sober in this moment. It's such a strategic and prophetic moment in time. There's a battle, a spiritual battle that's raging all over the earth between good and evil. But there are other battles that are going on in the process. There are political battles that are taking place. There are economic battles that are taking place. There are things that are affecting our health and health care. There are battles that are raging everywhere. So in this time and moment and season, we need to be able to touch the heart of God. We need to have some real serious insight. And I just want to share with you a few things. And I want you to know before I start that, first and foremost, this is not a thus saith the Lord, although I may have a word somewhere in the midst of this, and I may be able to give and share some insight in the process. What I'm actually trying to do is to share some things from my own personal experience, from my business background. I spent more than 21 years in business, and certainly from a ministry and spiritual perspective as well, and also some life principles and biblical insight, so that we can really get our bearings and keep our balance in the midst of the changing season and moment that we're in. Because when seasons of great change, transition, and transformation occur, it's an easy time for us to lose our balance. And sometimes we make poor choices and decisions that if we would have just taken a moment and really done something. In fact, every day I do a number of personal devotions by actually spiritual people that I trust and feel good about. I do a minute with Maxwell. And in fact, this past week, one of the minutes with Maxwell was just absolutely so impactful for this moment in time and for what I'm sharing today. And we have to stand in that place where we have some understanding and some balance, and that we don't just go on out and do things, but actually do things with purpose. And we have to have a reality moment concerning problems and situations. We need to face reality. And then after we have faced reality, then Maxwell said to take a deep breath and then walk out and begin to solve that problem. That's really what we need to do. We can't just bury our head in the sand. Problems are around us, and the reality of the problems and circumstances and situations of the moment require us to make choices and decisions. We need to base that on the facts and the circumstances, as well as on the inspiration and insight that we can bring to the table. So it's an important time, and I want to share with you, especially you that are our Facebook and our leaders, our Screaming Eagles mentoring group, others that'll be hearing this message. It's important, I think, that you gather right and proper information, and then you process it. Because you know what? Each of us are responsible for our own choices and decisions. And that we pay the consequence for us. We can gather information, but in the end, we need to make those choices for ourselves. I believe that as we take a brief look right now at a few things of, first, what got us to here, so that we can face the reality of the moment and then take the proper steps to position ourselves for the opportunities that lie ahead. I'll share some things that I think can not only help us to weather this storm that we're in and limit the negative side effects of the things that are going on in the economic and political arena, but also I want us to be prepared and positioned properly to capitalize in this season. Because there are some things that we can do right now that can limit the negative side effects and also position us for success and for the opportunities that are here right now so that we can financially thrive in the middle of this. I believe that the hand of favor is upon the children of God. God's hand of favor is on us. And he's trying to help us and trying to give us the revelation and the insight that we need, the counsel that we need. But we have to open up our hearts and do our part and make the right and proper choices and decisions. Working our way through 2023 so that we are properly positioning ourselves for the unfolding of things that are going to happen in late 2023 and early 2024, when there are going to be a lot of wonderful opportunities in the midst of the turmoil, trials, and tribulations. We need the revelation, wisdom, understanding, but we also need insight, diligence, personal discipline. And more than anything else, we need some divine strategies like never before. Yes, God's favor is on us, but our personal choices and decisions weigh heavily in our personal, professional, family, and financial situations, conditions. You know, our families are going through the turmoil as well on a personal basis and on an emotional basis. And in the midst of all of this, in order to stay stable, first and foremost, we have to have an understanding and a relationship with God so that we really have the peace of God in our hearts, so that we can bring peace to other people in the midst of their turmoil, people in our family, people in our business arena, contacts, relationships, people that know us. They should know us by our love and by our peace and by our relationship with God, by the things that we do and the way that we view things from a true godly perspective rather than just a worldview. But I want to understand the worldview because I have to operate in this world. So I need to have some real practical understanding of what's going on in the economic arena around me so that I make the right choices. Yes, God's favor is on us, but and I can tell you biblically, God's favor is on us in a wonderful, wonderful way. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 7 through 9, it says, "Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." I want you to know, as the children of God, we don't need to live, walk, or make choices and decisions based on fear. They need to be based on faith, faith in God, and that He is with us, and that He is for us, and that He wants us to be successful. We need to have an understanding of the Word, but we also need to have an understanding of His heart, so that we can have heart, take courage, be strong in this season, be peaceful in the midst of the turmoil, so that the world around us and those people who depend on us can also take refuge in that. And so I want you to know, a lot of times in the religious circles, sometimes people will think that God doesn't care very much about our success. Our success is important to Him. We're important to Him. And He wants us to be a light in a dark place and a safe place in the midst of the storm, a peaceful place when chaos and anarchy are everywhere. So let's use that as a foundation as we begin to go forward. As we go through this rocky road season, let's go through it with the right mindset and the right attitude, so that we're looking at it from a positive kingdom perspective. I want you to know that some of the policies and decisions that have been made these last few years have been very, very difficult. I believe that the decisions and choices that have been made in the last 2 years by our government leaders have in many cases brought us to this moment. Things that have actually been somewhat beyond our control. But that doesn't mean that we were not a party to it by even how we voted, how we lived, choices and decisions that we made. You know, we're responsible for our part in it. And one of the first things about reality is taking personal responsibility and accountability for our own action. We all need to evaluate what we've done and come to grips with the poor choices and decisions we've made personally. The reality of them, and then the way we react and respond to them, are the seed that we're sowing toward the better times that lie ahead. Some of the policies and decisions that I'm talking about were so bad that they were actually economic errors in judgment and policy that have weakened our position as a nation and as a people. In both the United States and Canada, when you look at America, they're both North America, and they have interconnected and interrelated policies, circumstances, and situations. We're kissing cousins, and our economies play out together. We need to have an understanding of both nations and everything that's going on in North America. These decisions that the politicians and political leaders and economic leaders have made have actually caused a lot of havoc and brought on the present issues. And we've done that politically, but in some cases we've also, rather than face the music of dealing with the difficult moment that we're in and let the free market system correct itself, we've artificially did all that we could to stimulate the market so that we could artificially hold it up. Sometimes by throwing more money into the system, money that we didn't have in the first place. Therefore, when you take your dollar to the counter, to the market, or to the pump, it takes more dollars to purchase less. And then we've established regulations that have actually, in some cases, devalued our currency and not allowed us to utilize and capitalize on the incredible storehouse of natural resources we have here in North America. We are a natural resource storehouse around the world. We are supposed to be a world power. We're set up for that. We have all of that in place. But some of the regulations, restrictions, problems, circumstances, poor choices, economic decisions, political circumstances, we are not utilizing all the wonderful natural resources that we've been given. We have also opened up the floodgates in many areas, arenas, states, and nation. Open up the floodgates of entitlement and a mentality of entitlement that has actually lowered our personal productivity and even affected the desire of many people to go to work. We're known as a hard-working, industrious people, creative in so many ways. Inside of the people here in North America is a pioneering spirit that created the Industrial Revolution. That's our heritage that has led us to be world leaders for generations. That's inside of us. But we need to work, and it's important that in this journey, we take responsibility for our personal productivity, for our desire to work. Work's not a dirty word. Work is one of the hallmarks that's made America what it is today worldwide. And personal productivity is something that each one of us need to have. And we need to instill that in our children and our children's children. During the course of this journey that we've been on, it seems to be leading us now to a place of inflation, recession, depression. So it looks bad, and it feels bad, and it's playing out poorly on the everyday experience and on the media. And we're listening to a lot of negative things that, before you know it, our personalities, our choices are not made based on faith and on the facts that we are two of the greatest nations in the earth that have phenomenal resources that we can tap into, and that we have been world leaders for a long time, that we're leaders in information and knowledge. But we seem to be trying to lead now from the back of the pack and off of feelings and emotions rather than the true facts of who we are and our true identity of who we are. We can do it. There's good stuff inside of us. Most people will tell you that in moments like this, cash is king. Gold and silver are better and safer. And you know what? That's true. But we as believers, we know the King of Kings and trust him to lead us and guide us in every season, through every circumstances, through every valley of death and darkness. He'll never leave us or forsake us. He promised that. His name is faithful and true. I shared his heart for us to succeed in Joshua 1, 7 through 9. But in this moment in time, we're going to see some things that the predicaments that we're faced with seem to outweigh the promises that are on our hearts. We're looking at it in the natural, and we have to take a kingdom spiritual look, but we also have to deal with the natural circumstances. In this situation, I believe we're going to see real estate flatten and then devaluate, along with most other big ticket items. Everything that's a big ticket, everything that's a starter, everything that we have for a long time, you're going to begin to see them flatten and devaluate in the midst of this as the market itself brings itself to a place of correction. Some things have just been running rampant for a long time, and the values of things increase at such a rate that there needs to come, sooner or later, you got to deal with the corrective mechanism that's in the free enterprise system. What we need to do in this hour and season is planning and budgeting, discerning between our needs and our wants. We need to rope in our spending, bring it to a place where we spend our money and our resources, our time and energy as well, focusing on the goals that we have and the legitimate needs that we're faced with. We need to, one of the things that we can all do is to turn non-usable and unnecessary items that we have into cash, because cash is important. Cash gives you and I the flexibility to make purchases when values go down. Cash will give us the funds to invest and buy stock and real estate and other assets when there are opportunities to make good purchases as the economy and value declines. There are going to be people in the process of this that will obviously lose their assets or be forced to sell or have a desire to sell. So there are going to be some great opportunities that present themselves throughout this process, but they're only there if we are prepared to capitalize on them. You know, in this market, there's going to be a lot less qualified buyers as the interest rates continue to go up. Every time those interest rates go up, a certain percentage of the potential buyers comes down. So we need to understand that things and dynamics are going to change. But, you know, if we position ourselves properly, we'll have access to buying things at a low price, and when the economy returns, we'll make money or gain equity quicker. Yes, there are situations where cash is so important and precious to our everyday walk in life, and during financial stress moments, it becomes even more important. And that's why they say that cash is king. But again, the King of Kings and our understanding of kingdom principles and finances and being diligent at what we do certainly will trump the king, even cash. The phrase actually means that having liquid funds available that can be vital because of the flexibility it provides during a crisis, also allowing you to capitalize on the bargains of the moment. I'm going to talk to you as well about some safe investments, but before I do that, I just want to kind of give you a little information about what really happens, what is recession, and what happens during a recession. A recession occurs when a region's economy declines over several months and even years. And they keep statistics on this, but again, the government brings their statistics in a way that probably, in many cases, has a political advantage. A recession occurs when there is actual economic decline over several months and years. During these periods, the region's gross domestic product or the value of goods and services that it produces drop. At the same time, dramatic changes may occur in the price of commodities like oil, food, and gas, or rise real highs we go from inflation to recession because those prices go up, but then after they go up, the natural correction process is going to bring us down to a different place. So we have to know where we're at in that process and maneuver our way properly through those moments. Previously, when we see recession happen, previously profitable industries, companies, products, there's a devaluation that occurs and a buyer confidence that goes down, and there's a contracting that occurs naturally in the system and in the economy because of the way people are reacting. So that's kind of what it is. Now, of course, over the last few years with COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic, we've seen major losses in daily business and employment across all types of spheres and through the hospitality industry and retail and tourism. I mean, everybody's taken a hit one way or the other. And now we're facing some difficult choices and decisions in this moment in season. What happens during this time? During periods of recession, companies make fewer sales, so economic growth stalls or becomes non-existent. Then they start cutting costs. Organizations then can be forced to lay off people, and there is a rippling effect of what happens in the economy. So it doesn't mean that we're not able to weather them. People have, these seasons come in every generation. They come periodically. Unfortunately, this particular one, like I spoke before, actually a lot of the things that we're experiencing right now and the circumstance that we find ourselves in, some of them were man-made by actually errors in judgments and decisions. So I wanted you to know a little bit about what it actually means, and when people say it, what can you expect? Because we need to have the reality of what can we expect if we actually move into this recessionary period. Now, as we look at where we stand now, we need to take a good look and evaluate our financial condition on a personal basis, on a family basis, on a business basis, on a ministry basis, whatever organization, group you're involved in. Every one of us need to take a real hard reality look at where am I? Because sometimes we have our own perception of we're doing good based on the numbers that we like. But it's really good to take a good hard look at where we're at right now. And begin to budget out, set a plan. Set a plan in place on what you're going to do in these different moments and seasons. And I feel that safe investments in recession, things like precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, certainly long-term real estate, your home, especially if it's debt-free. I mean, real estate is a good, stable investment, but balance is one of the keys to everything, so that you keep balance in different circumstances, that you don't have all your eggs in one basket, but you actually have some balance. So as different markets flow, you can move your investment or change your strategy in the midst of it to capitalize on what's doing better and to keep yourself from those things that are being hammered at that particular moment economically. So we need to be flexible. We need to be realistic. We need to take a good hard look at how we're spending, what we're doing. Are we actually budgeting? How do we change our budget in this moment in season? Because as surely as the big corporations need to, we need to make adjustments ourselves in our own family life and personal life in order to weather the storm. We need to be active, and we need to be very careful about how and if we borrow money, and we need to be careful of adjustable rate mortgages and things like that, that in the midst of inflationary moments as interest rates increase, that if it adjusts every year, every 2 years, a lot of people are going to come up with an adjustment this year in their mortgages. And when they adjust, they're going to adjust to the present type interest rates. So that means that the monthly payment is going to be much higher. So as you're making your budget plans for the year, you have to take a look at, do I have an adjustable rate mortgage or indebtedness coming up that is based actually on the interest rate based systems? So as it goes up, you need to budget that much more money to pay those interest rates if it's a credit line or whatever that's open and that you have. So you need to take a good hard look at what your circumstance is in your indebtedness, and how to consolidate that, how to put it at a place, how to keep it level. If you can go in and renegotiate more positive terms, that's an important thing to do. You should have already been doing it, but if you hadn't, now is the best time, because there is no better time than right now than to start putting things in place, locking in interest rates if you can. Take a good look at your credit situations. Avoid credit card interest payments whenever and wherever possible. Carefully choose your credit cards that have low maintenance fees and interest payments. Don't make purchases on credit that you don't need and don't have to make. Balance is the key. Therefore, I'm going to give you a little example of a balance in your investment portfolio. Because this is, to me, in my opinion, a good time actually to avoid growth stocks, unnecessary purchases, and keep my investments at a place where I have easy access and quick access to them. And it's important to me in this moment that I self-manage that. And I think we should always, whenever possible, self-manage. Keep your hand on your investment. Keep an eye on what you're investing. It is important that we use wisdom when we're doing it, and wisdom will bring balance. An example, let's say someone had $50,000 of disposable income, saved income, in some form of money market thing that's probably not going to perform the way that it did before, probably losing already. You may want to take that and maybe leave a small amount in there, but then take and invest in some safer places. Things like I was talking about before, like gold and silver and other things that are likely to hold their value. Another good safe play in a lot of situations are treasury bonds. And avoid the credit card interest payments. Check your government programs that give or grant money to individuals for things that may lower your utility bills by putting energy efficiency windows in, lower your power bill because prices of power and electricity are going to go up. Sometimes there are grants and programs for high efficiency air conditioning and heating that'll lower your monthly expenses ongoing. So take a look around at what you can do and what you can change so that you can actually begin to save money on a long-term basis, and the government does have some plans that are available for that. And there's high efficiency mileage on your vehicles. That's a big factor, especially as these fuel prices have been climbing over the last couple of years. Certainly get rid of the gas guzzlers as soon as you can before the market drops on the value of them. Because as people get rid of the gas guzzlers, then actually the market for them will go down. That's the market correction, the normal market correction that has in supply and demand. So if you have a gas guzzler, you may want to consider right now looking at something that's going to give you lower mileage. Now, you may want to do that, but not do that on a basis where you're going to have to take on credit that has a high interest rate, which would negate whatever saving you have on a monthly basis. And if you don't put many miles on your vehicle, then of course your savings is lower, so the gas guzzler may be just fine for you. Do whatever you can to keep your credit score up in the middle of this situation so that you have something to fall back on in the event of an emergency. Keep a safe ratio of cash on hand. A standard and a rule of thumb a lot of times is to try to keep 3 to 6 months of expenses on hand in case you have an emergency or not able to have the income you have right now. And we talked about the silver and gold, but there are 5 ways here that you can prepare for a recession. That economic downturn that we're talking about that looks very likely over the next several months, to help us to prepare for emergency situations. And if you're falling behind on debt payments, you really need to reach out right now to your creditors and ask for hardship concessions. Renegotiate terms. Take a good, hard, and honest look at your budget. What's coming in? What's going out? How can I begin to position myself to be sound in the midst of this moment, to be as sound and foundational as I can? Some of the things we've done, there's nothing we can do about them, but some of them we can make changes now. So let's take a good, hard look at where we're at, what we're doing, and the budget that we want to keep and the way we want to move in this moment. Because there are some things that right now, as we move, we can make choices and decisions, and we make them every day. We can turn some things around by making quality choices now and sow good seed into what's going to happen down the road. When I talk about budgeting, you need to have a list of your monthly expenses, including your rent, your mortgage payment, utilities, groceries, pharmaceutical, medical needs, child care costs, home, auto maintenance, your regular debt that you need to pay, your insurance premiums, and you may want to know what your cash values are, dividend values that you have access to when it comes to insurance that can give you relatively easy access towards some funds that can help you if emergencies come up. You want to know where they are in the advance, so when you have an emergency, you know the steps you want to take. You want to do some pre-planning right now. You want to add everything up and set a legitimate budget that's prioritized on your life and your family and your lifestyle. Take those essential expenses and identify them, and then balance that out so you know what it really takes. So many people don't take the time that's necessary or the personal discipline, and they're spending money. Once you begin to take a good hard look at what you're spending money on, you'll be better able to make quality decisions down the road. Sometimes it's simple things like how often we eat out. As a society, we eat out sometimes continually. So there are people that eat out 20, 30 times a month. When you look at the cost of that compared to in-home preparation cost and taking care of your family that way, there's a huge amount of money that goes into food that actually sometimes is not the best quality food for our family, and also a real difficult situation in our budget. But first you have to, what are you spending your money on? Go back, take a good hard look at it. Take a look at your checkbook and where your expenditures are going. Keep track of your receipts. See where you're spending it and see if that's actually where you want to spend it. You know, because sometimes it just becomes a natural habit for us, and we don't ever come to grips with it. Well, that's this budgeting and setting a budget is so important. Focus on debt repayment. That's also real important. If you're capable of it, get that debt down the best you can. It's an important time and an important moment. I wanted to share with you some of these ideas that I think are going to be helpful to you. And I also want you to avoid some things like panic and fear. I want you to avoid increasing your debt. Even though sometimes there's a low interest rate or something that appeals to you, something that you want, this is not probably the best season to take on debt. Be careful as well when co-signing situations, because in the event the primary debt holder isn't able to make a payment, then the co-signer is held responsible. So that can affect you as well if you've co-signed on properties or circumstances and situations. So there are some things you may want to try to avoid in this particular moment. Keep an eye on your credit score. Do what's necessary to keep that credit good so that in the event of an emergency and you have to use it, you'll have something there to fall back on. Save what you can, tighten your belt, watch what you're doing, be sober in the moment, be knowledgeable about that. There's a lot of great information out there for you to make good quality decisions. When I said to put your hands on and keep your hands on your finances, I want you to keep your head and your hands on them. I want you to start to get good, valid information that will help you in the midst of this. Because I believe that late in the year and early next year, there are going to be tremendous amount of opportunities that are going to come available to us who have been properly positioned and who are in a position to go forward and to step out in faith. I'm going to continue to bring you some information in the future like this and have some other prophetic edges, like on things like civics and simple basics of free enterprise and the government system and how it works, because we need to be knowledgeable about the systems and programs around us so that we know how to make good quality choices. And that's what I want for you. And my prayer for you today, let's pray together. Father, I thank you. I thank you first and foremost for your faithfulness, for your favor, for your love. Father, that you have taken us through all of these things and you've delivered us and we're here. We know that your name is faithful and true. We trust you. And we base our future on our faith in you. And Father, I thank you right now that you'll give us revelation and wisdom and understanding, that we would know the hope of your calling, that you would lead us and guide us by your Spirit, and that you would strengthen us to make good quality choices, decisions for us, for our family, and for you and your kingdom. Help us to put our priority orders right. That first and foremost, you, your kingdom, your righteousness, the kingdom principle of seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added to us. I declare that over you people today. I declare wisdom and understanding. I declare counsel to come, information and knowledge to come their way, divine intervention into emotional situations. And Father, I declare your peace, your shalom over your people, your favor, your blessing. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. God bless you now. It was good to share some time with you. And I want to wish you and your family a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. In the midst of all of this, the Lord our God is going to make a way forward for us, a path forward. In the midst of the anarchy and chaos that's around us in this world, in this moment, I want you to know that he's on our side. He's on your side. He'll never leave you or forsake you. God bless you now, and you have a great day and a happy new year.